Mexican authorities just arrested 5 more people linked to the killing and kidnapping of American tourists. And the cartel that investigators believe is responsible for the crimes is now apologizing to the victims' families. The Gulf Cartel also handed over 5 of its members to local authorities. Now, the bodies of Shaeed Woodard and Zindell Brown, the 2 Americans killed in that kidnapping, have been delivered to U.S. diplomatic authorities.
The group of friends from South Carolina drove to Matamoros, Mexico last Friday, so one of them could get a medical procedure. Investigators believe they were mistaken for drug smugglers. CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell joins us now. And Josh, this apology letter, it seems highly unusual. What more are you learning about how it came about?
Yeah, Beata, so days after the kidnapping of these 4 American citizens in Mexico, the cartel that is suspected to be behind this appears to be doing some PR image cleanup. Of course, the cartel known for its violence, known for its brutality. But yesterday, this letter surfaced, this so-called apology letter. Now, I obtained a copy from a source who's familiar with this investigation. I'll read you part of it. It says that the Gulf Cartel apologizes to the Society of Matamoros, the relatives of Miss Areli, that was a Mexican national who was killed in this attack, and the affected American people and families. It goes on to say the Gulf Cartel Scorpion Group strongly condemns the events of last Friday. For this reason, we decided to hand over those directly involved and responsible for the acts. Now, it's worth pointing out that the source that I spoke with said that U.S. and Mexican law enforcement, they doubt the sincerity of this apology. Again, it appears to be sent in response to all of the attention that has come upon this group. Of course, we have U.S. officials who have been demanding that the U.S. government do more to help try to curb some of the violence at the U.S.-Mexico border. So again, the sincerity of that letter is certainly in question. But they mentioned as part of that letter that they handed over members of their group. There was a photo that surfaced online showing 5 men on the pavement, their shirts pulled over their heads. We could not confirm that that was an actual, those were actually part of this incident. But the Mexican officials today announced that they have arrested 5 people. That was a mugshot that you just saw. Again, still unclear what their exact alleged role was here. But of course, the families of those who were kidnapped, particularly those who were killed in this attack, are demanding justice. In fact, our colleague Carlos Suarez spoke to the mother of one of the surviving members, and she wants to see law enforcement go forcefully after this group, telling Carlos that they need to keep getting them until they get them all, guys.
Now, I mentioned that the bodies of Shaeed Woodard and Zindell Brown, those are now with U.S. diplomatic authorities or officials. What happens next?
Yeah, so those remains were repatriated back to the United States. A source familiar with this process tells me that there will now be a second autopsy that's conducted. There was an autopsy conducted by Mexican officials. Of course, this crime occurred in their jurisdiction. But this is interesting and I think signals for us where the FBI investigation is going. U.S. authorities are going to conduct their own autopsies. I can tell you, having worked these murder cases in the past overseas, that when the FBI is building a case for possible prosecution, they would like, for simplicity and ease, to have an American doctor conduct an autopsy so they have their own results, and then that person could be easily called to testify if there is an eventual prosecution and extradition. So a lot going on behind the scenes as authorities both on the U.S. and Mexican side try to investigate those who are responsible for this brutal attack, guys.